I want you to look at the words of Mosab Hassn Yousef, the son of a Hamas co-founder and leader, who's commenting on how Sinwar thinks. He knows Hamas very well. Sinwar is the leader of Hamas in Gaza. He orchestrated the October 7th massacre. He's calling all the shots in Gaza in terms of how Hamas fights. And he gives us some insights into how Hamas think based on reporting, and then he gives his comments. So have a look at what he says. So he writes on Twitter how Sinwar thinks and perceives world leaders compromise. The quotes below are according to documents obtained by the Wall Street Journal from Sinwar. Quote, Sinwar said, "We have the upper hand over Israel in this war. We have the Israelis right where we want them. Israel's journey in Rafah won't be a walk in the park. Civilian deaths are a necessary sacrifice. Do not make concessions and instead push for a permanent end to the war." Then he quotes Blinken, Secretary of State Blinken, as saying, "I don't think anyone other than the Hamas leadership in Gaza are the ones who can make decisions." So then Mossab writes, Sinwar's comments emerged just after 14 of the 15 United Nations Security Council members voted in favour of Monday's US drafted resolution, with only Russia abstaining, the first time the Council has endorsed such a plan to end the war. Israel, of course, is not a member of the UN Security Council, and so did not vote. Mossab then says, the United States government and the rest of the Security Council members fell right into the trap, into Hamas's trap, to pressure Israel to commit suicide, giving Hamas exactly what they wanted. Israel understands Hamas's strategy and must fight until the end, even without the support of the US government. So this is so important, and it's something that some in the West don't seem to appreciate. Hamas's strategy, the West, and calling for a ceasefire, has totally played into their strategy. The strategy is to make the death count as high as possible, for them to sacrifice their people, to use them as human shields, to hide among them, to fight among them, to make it as hard as possible for Israel to surgically go after Hamas, even though they've done the most unprecedented job of doing that. And their strategy is to get the world to become tired and worn out of the conflict, and therefore to force Israel to cave to pressure and allow Hamas to survive. So the strategy is so clear. And by the way, it's playing into Israel's aversion to bloodshed, by the way, because they've been so surgical in the way they've gone about it. Many people in Israel and others think perhaps this makes the case. This is part of the reason why the war maybe is something that should be fought more comprehensively, more quickly. You see, soldiers are dying as a result of this surgical process as well, because of Hamas's tactics. And some are saying maybe this should have been over far quicker, because number one, should we be sacrificing our people, our efforts on to such a level to protect the other side civilians when they're trying to maximize the death count, and also when we didn't start this war, but also because the world are getting tired and they don't like this. Now, of course, either way, whether it's a long or a short war, Israel has to do exactly what she needs to do to defeat Hamas. But it's so important that we become aware of the strategy of Hamas on the other side. They are getting what they want through this reaction. And I don't know whether it's the world's naivety, turning a blind eye, double standards that they have towards Israel, or whether they genuinely believe that Hamas cannot be that bad. It's so evil to want to purposefully get your civilians, as many killed as possible, that they can't get their head around it. But the problem is, it is that bad, and we need to come to terms with that. Hamas are that evil. They are that cynical. We struggled to get our heads around that in World War II, which is why it took so long for the Allies to go to war with Germany. Because it can't be that Hitler's that evil. It can't be that he really wants to dominate Europe, have this racial exterminationist program, and even conquer even more than Europe. Can't be. That's just so evil. But no, that is exactly what he wanted to do. So too, they can't believe they'd really tried to sacrifice their people, maximize their civilian deaths on their side, not just on the Israeli side. But yes, that is the case. Because for them, this is not about self-determination for their people. It's about an Islamic supersessionist theology that insists that the Muslims are going to dominate the world, that Islam will dominate the world, and the Jewish people, their covenant with God, is gone. It's extinguished. Now, when the Jewish people, having wandered the earth for 2,000 years, return to the land of Israel, and it starts to bloom again, and it looks like God has not forsaken the Jews, and he's kept his promise to them, as he said he would return them at the end of days, then what does that mean for your theology? Well, either you have to readjust your theology, or you have to say this is an evil and God is testing us and we have to get rid of it. And that's what's happening. And that's what it's about. That's what's motivating them. And so, the answer to this, the solution to this, is going to be a religious one ultimately. It's not a nationalist issue. It's not an issue of self-determination. It's about religion. It's about their relationship with God. And we as a Jewish people also have a role to play in articulating to them our relationship with God and our eternal covenant with him and with the land of Israel, which is promised to us as an eternal inheritance, and to be absolutely clear to them about that. And you know what? Might surprise you, but I actually think that's the one argument which we haven't yet tried that I think a religious region will actually respond well to. I'm Ollie Anisfeld and you're watching JTV. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.